There's not one guy, one person in the history of this program that's bigger than the program.
Oh, what's up? Welcome into episode number 89 of the Program Guys podcast, take 3. This is the third time we've done this intro. My name is Mason Prince. Joined with you as always by Mark Hall, Matt Gann, no Matt Gann. Oh my gosh, we're keeping it in.
We're falling apart.
Take 4 incoming.
What's up? Welcome into episode number 89 of the Program Guys podcast. Mason Prince, Mark Hall, Ryan Tyson, no Matt Gann or no Patrick Hertzberger this week. Today is Thursday, September 21st. Be sure to like, subscribe on our YouTube channel. Trying to hit 2,000 subscribers by Texas. We're 2 weeks away, folks. We're about 240 subscribers away. If you're watching this right now, you can help us because it costs you $0 to subscribe. And there's a large chance that you are not subscribed to the channel if you're watching right now. Help us out. Just click one button. That's all it takes. Free to you and free to us as well. You can also follow us on all of our social media at Program Guys with a Z. And you can also buy our t-shirt. Our t-shirt link closes today. While you're watching this. This is your last day to pre-order a Program Guys t-shirt, and then orders are closed and they'll be going out to the people. Super soft, super sick. Thank you to our friends at the Fan Stop. You can find that link down below in our description of our video and of this podcast, no matter how you're listening or watching. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, it's all there. Folks, how we doing? 4 times the charm.
Hey, you did great. You got through that whole thing. That was beautiful.
Man.
What
a time.
I think we keep 3 and 4 in there. Just
so
everyone
it's all,
it feels like.
It's all staying. It's all staying.
One thing.
Yeah. It was the 4th time for me to do that intro. There's a 4-star prospect that we got to talk about. OU's going for their 4th win of the season. A lot's going on in this show. We got a whole lot to talk about. But boys, I want to get right into it because it's going to be jam-packed. Danny Okoye, literally 10 minutes ago, right before we started this, announced that he is coming to Oklahoma. He picked Oklahoma over Texas and Tennessee. Yes, over Texas and Tennessee. Shout out to Mark. He had a great tweet. He said that they had a picture of the hats out on the table, and the OU hat looked a little bit more handled and dirtier than the Texas.
Oh man,
worn.
And Mark was just look at it.
Yeah, he was like, I think we know which way this is going, and he does. Danny Okoye.
This guy's got a white hat on the table. There's no signs of use. There's no signs of use, but the black one has obviously been handed.
Yeah, 100%.
Go ahead, Mace.
No, it's all good. Danny Okoye, in case you don't know who that is, 4-star defensive lineman. Is he an edge rusher? What do they have him listed as? So another part of the power line. He's from Noah in Northeast Oklahoma. He's plays for a homeschool football.
Hey, what is Noah for people who don't know, Mason?
Northern Oklahoma at home. So it's a way for homeschooled kids to be able to play like school football, organized athletics. So that's how Danny plays. So Danny's a homeschool kid, but he plays organized sport at Noah, and they're a really good program. They do very well in Northeast Oklahoma. So Danny, a really great get. I'll open the floor to you guys. Ryan, I mean, this is another guy to this defensive line. Miguel Chavis and company just keep grinding.
Yeah, and I think like this is the one that we've been waiting on the last couple of weeks, right? We've been anticipating this. I know that I believe that Mark dropped his ball for Danny. How many?
10 days ago.
Yeah. So
plenty of lead time for the haters out there.
you had to show them what's up. I'm really excited. I mean, again, we have been kind of raving about the defense so far this year, and that doesn't even include this 2024 class. And like, if you look at just the people that this coaching staff is putting together, like with Danny, and like you have, David Stone in there, you have just so many guys.
Jane Jackson, I'm very excited about.
I mean, there's just so many. Like you could pick multiple, right? And
we're not noticing Wyatt Gilmore enough in general because he's up there in Minnesota, but he's going to be monster.
Yeah. I mean, this is exactly what we need for the SEC. And that's what's happening next year. And this defense that we really like this year, that I think is a very good defense, is going to get even better. And that just fires me up. And I'm so excited that it seems like these young men think the same way and are feeling the same way about this situation, and they feel bought into this. I think that, that those are my main thoughts. Like, immediately, I think he's going to be a huge addition to this team. And I'm really excited with the fact that OU is getting very talented in-state players. Like, we are getting the most talented players that are in the state of Oklahoma, and that is what should be happening. Yeah. And that has not happened for a long time. So I'm excited that this is happening.
We got an update, and Mark, I'll go to you right after this, but an update from Bob Prisbillo, who I want to give credit to him. He's at the Danny Okoye commitment ceremony. He says, Danny Okoye says he's been silently committed to OU since his official visit. He didn't even call Brent Venables. No need for it to tell him the good news. So, I mean, yeah, this was locked up. Mark, your thoughts?
Guys, and here's the thing, and this isn't the funnest way to look at it when when you're looking at the whole thing, but dang, are the Oklahoma Sooners lucky that 2 of the top 100 prospects for the entire country are Oklahoma guys. Mm-hmm. That David Stone is an Oklahoma City kid, and even though he goes to IMG, he keeps those ties. He's on campus all the time and is able to bring Jaden Jackson along, right? He goes to Jaden Jackson's official visit. And Danny Okoye, look, here's the thing with Danny, though, is Oklahoma wasn't in that recruitment for a good stretch of the recruitment. You think about when these kids start getting recruited, 8th grade, freshman year, whatever it is, they start going to these camps. Oklahoma has not been in it from the jump the way that they have been with guys like David Stone or like Nigel Smith. And that they're able to claw their way back into it says a ton about the tenacity of the recruiting that Brent Venables and the defensive staff have, just everywhere they go. Don't, it's not that they don't take no for an answer in a bad way, but they find ways to keep their foot in the door. Every single recruit they want to keep the foot in the door with.
100%. So my thoughts on this matter are this, and it's a little more, let's go back, right? So Colton Vasek committed to Oklahoma, and then Oklahoma loses him. That's a big time. I think at the time he was a 5-star, maybe a high 4-star, maybe a 5-star, 4-star. Thank you, Mark. Still, regardless, you're in a rebuilding period. That's a guy that you thought you had locked up on this defensive line, and you lose him to Texas. Some people probably saw it coming. Regardless, I guarantee you that staff didn't take it very well. Instead of shutting down and being like, we're screwed, they bring in PJ Adebawore. And PJ Adebawore is playing right now. Miguel Chavis and Todd Bates are in their GD bag right now. And those guys, you're going to lose some. I say all that to say this, you're going to lose some. But those guys are winning more than they're losing right now, and their wins are fantastic. Those guys know what the hell they're doing, and the kids respond to this. They respond to it in a big way because they know that what they're getting out of that defensive line room and that defensive staff and the staff as a whole is some real dudes. They're having real conversations. They're relating to these guys because they're people. They're not used car salesmen trying to get you on campus and then we'll figure it out. These are guys that they want you there. They know that they can build around you, and they believe what they're building in. It's massive.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah, that was.
I mean, yeah.
I was waiting for
really
Mark
good.
to jump in.
The only thing, and I know that some commenters want to get in their feels about like the timeline here. Yeah, PJ was already committed by the time we lost Colton Vasek. 100%. PJ's already committed, but you hold on to PJ in the midst of a 6-7 season, the worst year any of us have seen in living memory, right?
Yes.
Some of our older listeners, please fill us in on what it was like to see it be worse than it was last year, because it wasn't fun last year, but it was tough. And you hold on to PJ, and then you do lose Colton Vosick and bring in Taylor Wine right after, a guy who, while he wasn't as heralded, might as well look like a damn near a physical identical clone carbon copy. And that speaks again to the way that they're just relentless about recruiting. They're unturning every single stone. They're not letting any visit, any trip, any opportunity go to waste. And it's the kind of focus on defensive recruiting and success, frankly, on the defensive side of the recruiting that we haven't seen in years and years and years and years and years. As someone who always rode for the way Oklahoma's offense played and felt like we just had to ride out the defense for so long, this feels like a good way to be building football teams. This
100%.
feels pretty nice.
Ryan, we'll put a bow on this with you, but before you put a bow on it, On Three moves Oklahoma up to number 8 in the 2024 recruiting cycle. So they're 8th. They're a top 10 class as of right now. Ryan.
No, I think I want to hit on kind of what Mark said at the end there on us not being used to this, right? Like us not being used to the defensive first mindset. And I think, like, you know, we sat on this podcast and right when we started, when Brent Venables was hired, and we were like, oh my God, we're finally going to have a defense again. And then we went through a 6 and 7 year. Defense did not look good. And I think a lot of us were just like, oh my God, what's going on? What's happening? And I think it's going to take a while for this fan base. And I think this is something we touched on in the post game, I believe, after SMU. It's going to take a while for the fan base to kind of make that switch, I think, in their brain of saying like, oh my God, I was going to say we're not getting the 5-star quarterbacks, but we did get Jackson Arnold. So it's like, we might not be getting the 5-star quarterbacks. We might not be getting the 5-star wide receivers, but we're getting this massive, like, defensive talent that we have not seen since the early 2000s, really. And like, I want to remind people that the last time we won a national championship was with our defense. And like, that is something that you have seen Georgia the past 2 years, like pretty good offense, but mostly it's their defense who's winning them these championships. Like, I'm so excited about this like defensive first mentality that we have going into the SEC. But I think it will take some time just for us to get used to some of these things and not, you know, expect the 50 points a game and not expect the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of yards of passing. You know, I think overall what I'm trying to say is that this recruitment of Danny is just another kind of brick that's being laid in this foundation, this defensive foundation that is going to become the identity of the University of Oklahoma football team. And like, that's, I think, really special.
Let us know down below in the comments what you think about the Danny Okoye commitment. That's we read every single one of your comments of that, by the way. Dax Noles, another Oklahoma product, 2024. He's a preferred walk-on. He committed to OU just the other day. Norman High School player. He's a class of 2024. Like I said, 6'1", 185. Listed him as an athlete. So just another guy to add to that class. And hopefully he works out. OU's had some good success with athletic preferred walk-ons, if I remember correctly. So anything on that guy?
And real fast. Just the commenters have kind of schooled me on this more than one time now, where these preferred walk-on guys, they are able to pick Oklahoma because our NIL game is set up to support them, where they're still getting their school paid for. This guy might come in and you're a PWO, and only so many of those guys really break through. So odds are he's a practice guy. Like that's what the odds are. And yet his school is still going to be paid for. And there's always that possibility that he's going to be the one that gets to break through in that class. And even if you don't see him get showered with a scholarship and the guys like jump on him and all the whole Gavin Freeman thing that happened this past offseason, even if that never happens for him, he could still be a guy who gets to play and really finds a way onto the field to make some plays. I think that the defensive recruiting staff is wisely building up a group of almost a stable of these diamond in the rough possible players. You know, you look at Dax Noles, Eric McCarty is another guy that I'd put on that list. Taylor Heim is a guy that I'd put on that list where they could end up anywhere on the field. And you know that they're going to be here in 3 years. You're not going to be worried about, you know, like Peyton Bowen's gone in 3 years, guys. He just is. These guys are going to be there to fill holes when you need them to. And I'm pretty psyched about it. It doesn't take a spot from anyone else. It's a preferred walk-on. And I'd rather take guys that are local products than not local products. So I hit on approximately 113 things there. Ryan, which of them would you like to talk about?
You literally covered everything. So I think I'm just gonna say I'm stoked that it's a local kid, and I think the entire process of building a bench is important. I think it's important to have people there that you can trust and you can rely on, and that's exactly what they're doing here. And I think
better way to put that.
No, it's just like that's what it is. Is he literally going to sit on the bench? Probably, but that's okay. Like that, if he's getting, like you said, the preferred walk-on thing about getting paid for school through NIL, I did not know that. So thank you to the commenters, whoever dropped that in our comments. Yeah, why not? Like this is a great opportunity for him that he's like, look, I'm going to show out as much as I can. And maybe, just maybe, I can be like Gavin Freeman, who gets my, you know, the champagne shower or whatever it was for really like getting that scholarship. But worst case situation, my school's paid for and I get to, you know, support a team that I really care about. So I don't know. I think it's a win-win situation. I'm excited about it. So
lit. Love it. Let us know down below in the comments. Like Mark and Ryan mentioned, we read every single one of them. We appreciate it more than you know. Okay, we got a game to cover this week. Oklahoma against Cincinnati. First true, or no, not the first true road game. They just played Tulsa. First conference road game. Conference
this
game.
This is the first true road game.
Okay, that's
Did fair. You see that crowd?
You're right. I know.
Red.
Yeah, you're right. So they're taking on Cincinnati. OU 14.5 point favorite. Over under set at 57.5 according to Patrick. We'll see.
No, I updated those numbers.
You did. Thank you.
As of this afternoon.
As of Wednesday afternoon. As of Wednesday afternoon. That's where we're at. Real quick things to touch on. Dylan Gabriel won Big 12 Offensive Player of the Week. Shout out to Dylan. Great week. We talked about him on the post-game pod. Check that out if you want to as well. Injury updates to Sam McCullough. Going to play in the game. That's massive.
Great news.
We can touch on him when we get to the defense. So, quick overview. Cincinnati 2-1, unranked, lost last week in overtime to Miami of Ohio. They're coming off a loss, going to be hungry, ready to prove their point in their first ever conference game, Big 12 conference game, I should say. Cincinnati's going to be looking to make a point. Oklahoma also going to be looking to make a point to show what they've done the first 3 weeks of this season isn't fraudulent, isn't a fugazi. They're a real team with a real defense and an offense that can sling it around the field. So that's what we're looking at overall. We'll start with the OU offense against the Cincinnati defense, guys. Okay. So Oklahoma's offense. Yeah, Mark, did you have something? Oh, sorry. I thought you raised your hand.
Apologize.
So
sorry.
No, don't worry about it. So I want to put up some stats here. So I got total defense. Currently, Cincinnati ranks 7th in the Big 12 at total defense. They allow 197 yards a game. Defensive efficiency, Cincinnati ranks 12th. In case you're wondering what OU's rank is in the Big 12 in offense,
Pause.
currently first. Yeah.
197 and they're only ranked
That.
seventh.
Is that
That's in
seems
defensive
seems low.
efficiency. I mean, I'm looking at the Big
Is that
12
like
stats
passing
right now.
yards? Is that 197
Oh
passing
no,
yards?
that's passing yards. Gosh,
Okay.
dude, what the heck?
Sorry,
You're so
I just,
right.
you know,
No, you're no. I'm glad we did this.
197
I'm on
is
totals.
low.
Keep it in.
I'm on totals now. Here we go. Total defense. Cincinnati, 6th in the country. They allow 307 yards a game.
6th in the country or 6th in the conference?
7th in the Big 6th in the conference.
Sixth
Cincinnati
in the conference.
ranks 6th in the conference.
7th against
Oklahoma.
passing.
Yes. Oklahoma is 2nd in total offense in the conference. They are 534 yards a game. UCF is averaging 617 yards a game. What the hell? Oh my God. Okay.
We're gonna hold them under 300.
Dude,
We're not
it's
talking
crazy.
about UCF. Keep going.
Okay, so Cincinnati, that's where Cincinnati's at right now. Guys, any thoughts on how OU matches up with Cincinnati in terms of that? So I'll get us started, because I think really what you need to do is sling this ball around the field once again, because I don't think Cincinnati is the Cincinnati of old. They're definitely missing Luke Fickell. I don't think that they're the same Cincinnati team that signed up for the Big 12 when they signed on the dotted line. And it shows a little bit. Does that mean they're a bad team? No, of course not. They're coming off a loss to Miami of Ohio in overtime. That's not ideal, right? But you're Oklahoma. Like we talked about last week, this is an inferior opponent. You cannot be looking ahead to Texas. You cannot be looking ahead to Texas. You have to stay the course, do exactly what you're doing, stay aggressive. Me and Mark talked about it on Saturday. The offensive aggressiveness was amazing against Tulsa. Do that. Do that.
In a nice storm.
Dude, do it again. I loved it from Jeff Levy. And we talked about what we didn't like, stop with the whole Jackson Arnold shtick. That's dumb. We don't need to do that. But I thought the offense and the aggressiveness was what made them so successful against Tulsa. Tulsa was a not good team, but being that aggressive made them that successful. That's what I think the OU offense needs to do. Brian, what do you got?
You just call me Brian?
Dude, who knows at this point?
What's
Maybe
going
I
on
did.
with you?
Who the heck knows? Maybe I'm having a stroke. Like and subscribe to watch me have a stroke.
Brian Tyson, what you got?
Brian Tyson.
My guy B-Ry.
I think I mostly agree with you, Mason. I think we played a extremely almost perfect offensive game against Tulsa. Other than mostly our running game was non-existent, but from a passing perspective, that's exactly what we need to look like. Dylan played a hell of a game. We've talked about that. I think this Cincinnati defense is better than Tulsa's defense, and I think they're going to show that. I think this Cincinnati, I haven't watched a ton of their tape, but I've watched a little bit of it, and their D-line is pretty good. They are not, I don't think they are going to let us walk all over them like we have done in the first 3 games, if you want to count the SMU game, at least 2 of the games of the season, right? I think this is going to be an aggressive defense that comes after Gabriel, and our O-line needs to be able to hold. And I am a little bit concerned about our O-line with some of, the injuries that we've had, also with some of the shifting that's been going on. I think we have some really, really solid players in the O-line, but if a hole opens up, and this is the type of defense that I think will find that hole and go through it and get Gabriel that way. So I'm a little concerned about the battle on the line. I think that's what the coaches have been talking about literally all week, is that this is going to be a battle on the line. And so that's what I'm watching for the most when it comes to our offense versus our defense. Not even how well Gabriel plays, not even how well the wide receivers play. I'm really watching that line. Like, I want to see how that does, because I think that is going to show us where we are and how prepared we are for some of the other games down the season. I agree with you that we shouldn't be looking forward to Texas, but at the same time, I want to see, like, if we get smothered by this Cincinnati D line, which I don't think we will, but if we do, like, what does that mean for when we play somebody like Texas, right?
Yeah.
So that is going to be the thing I'm watching the most of. As for all the other parts of the offense, I think I would love to see our run game be a little bit more robust this week than it was last week. And I don't know if that means going back to Marcus Major. I don't know if that means, I don't know exactly what that means, but I'm willing to bet Levy is going to try to get the running game going a bit more than it was last week. And then Gabriel just needs to be how he's been all year. He's been great. I am the notorious Dylan Gabriel hater on this pod, and I've been eating crow all season long, all 3 games.
I'm with you with Danny, so we're doing it together.
He's been fantastic, so he just needs to stay like that. He's been so relaxed and he seems so confident and so comfortable. Like, that needs to stay, even if you are getting more pressure from a better defensive line. So I think, like, those are the big things I'm looking out for. And then just in general, and we can talk about this probably more on the defensive side, but this is where it all came crumbling down last year for the Oklahoma Sooners, right? This game 4, we played Kansas State. It was the opening of the Big 12, and it crumbled down after the first 3 games where we were like, oh my God, this team is going to the playoff. Remember those days? Like, I can't, we have to be able to get through that mentally, that, like, everyone is waiting, everyone's watching and being like, is it going to happen again? Is it going to happen again? Is it going to happen again? And we need to mentally be able to get through that. So those are my kind of thoughts on the offense overall.
To Ryan's point real quick, Mark, and then I'll let you jump in. Cincinnati, 10 sacks on the season. Oklahoma's only allowed 1. So something's got to give right there. Mark?
Yep.
Yeah, on that point, there's one guy specifically I want to hit on. It's going to be number 2 for the Cincinnati defensive line. Redshirt sophomore.
Like Javonte Barnes? Sorry.
Redshirt sophomore, Dante Corleone.
He's really good. He's really good.
That's hard. No, that's hard. You don't
That's
have
pretty
that
sick.
name.
That sounds
you don't
like
have that
some
name
of the
and
Sopranos.
then not be a stud.
Yeah.
But he's a stud. He's absolutely a stud. I did a quick search for all the lists that he made, right? First of all, he's an AP All-American first-team player as a redshirt sophomore. So that means he has 1 year in the books and is being called that. That's pretty impressive. Well, 1 year of like real play. He might have like made some appearances, but it doesn't matter. Past that, he's on the list for the Bednarik Award, the Nagurski Award, the Walter Camp Award, the Outland Award. This guy's a game wrecker up front and in the middle. And guess what? That's where our game might get wrecked, because last week, Andrew Rame played well. All the flowers in the world to Andrew Rame, no problem there. But Savion Byrd has something up, and I'm not one to speculate, but it doesn't seem great. McCade McTower, did he get hurt last week? Am I making that up?
No, I thought Bird got hurt last week.
I know Bird got hurt. McCade was fine. That we were just rotating guys.
I thought we were just rotating guys other than Bird, but I might be incorrect there. Commenters, let us know.
This is not let us know. In any event, this is not a game you're going to be rotating guys against Dante Corleone unless you feel real comfortable with what you have cooking up. On that point, the run game too. We're going to need to see more explosiveness. Ryan, you sort of hit on it. I need to see the Gavin Sawchuk of the Cheez-It Bowl and not the Gavin Sawchuk of the Tulsa game. That's an easy thing. I mean, who knows if that's where he is physically, and if he's not, it's not the game to get him there, because you have other players on the field relying on the performance of the running back. So if he's not there yet, that's cool. Give him some space. That's what we talked about. Get him ready for later in the season, but let Tawee Walker get a touch or two this week. I don't know how you go from 100 to 0 that quick with a player like that. I mean, obviously he's fine with it. He's as mature a guy as there is on the football team, but it's a funky strategy, and I wonder what we'll see out of the running game from a personnel perspective on that front. And then lastly, got to be quick hitting passes. I know that we want to set up the deep ball as much as we can, score from far, but because of the issues we've seen, I understand only one sack given up on the offensive line, but I'm always iffy on like, give me the pressure number and then I'll feel better. You know, that's the one that I want to listen to and see. And I just don't know where to find it. Commenters, hit us up in the comments if you know where to find pressure stats for college football. I think we're going to have to hit quick hitting passes, look for Drake Stoops, look for Jaleel Farouk, and maybe some deep, just throw it up and see what happens, plays to the big boys, the Pterodactyls, Nick Anderson and Jaden Gibson. But expect a healthy dose of all of those guys along with whatever running back's explosive.
I think that we discovered something last week with this offense and specifically the wide receivers is that, yeah, Andrell Anthony and Jaleel Farouk are probably the guys, right? They're the guys you're going to hang your hat on, and those are your two guys. But, man, I think Jeff Lebby knows this as well as Emmett Jones. Jaden Gibson and Nick Anderson got to see the field, and they got to get balls thrown their way. I think they're aware, and I think as the season goes on more and more, you're going to see that happen more and more, especially in the red zone. So be on the lookout for, I'm not saying another, 3 reception, 3 touchdown game from Nick Anderson, but be on the lookout for Nick Anderson and Jaden Gibson to be in there in high leverage situations because they trust them, because they've shown that they can handle the moments and go get the ball when you need someone to go get the ball. And also in the running back room, I just want to know who the hell the featured back is at the end of this week. That's all I want to know, man. I don't know. We're in running back purgatory right now, and I get that we're trying to figure stuff out. And Mark had a good point about Tawi Walker just not really getting any burn anymore. But like, is it Sawchuk? Is it Barnes? Maybe you go back to Tawi. Is Marcus Major gonna be the guy finally? I have no idea. I want to know because this juggling 4 of them stresses me out. Like, just let me know who I can lean on a 3rd and 1. That's who I want. That's what I want to know.
It's Jackson Arnold. Don't you know that?
That's a good point.
No,
that's
I'm kidding. That was my only last comment is please do not roll Jackson Arnold out there in the damn belldozer formation.
Nope.
Just
here's how
Ryan,
here's the thing. It's okay. I'm not mad at you. I know that, not everyone has the time all throughout the week, but you would know if you listen to the post-game podcast that we have a name for the offense. It's not the belldozer. It's not the jackhammer. This is the jack offense.
Yeah.
Okay. And when he's on the field, we need to see him really just
finish.
Well, we need to see him finish as often as we can.
Yeah.
And we need to see him unloading all over the field.
100.
That's what I want him to do. Okay. Yeah. The guy can rocket his stuff anywhere he wants to put it.
1,000,000%.
And we've seen it. Dude, honestly, like, it wasn't even a good play, but the velocity that he had when he busted out to Blake Smith last week was
waiting for it.
Next level kind of stuff out of the arm.
Yeah, it's a bit, but it's beautiful. I love it. I love it.
Give me the correct usage of the jack offense, and this team doesn't lose a game all year.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. Again, don't put the handcuffs on Jackson Arnold. He's not a gimmick. Stop treating him like a gimmick. He's just not, man. Anything else on the OU offense against Cincinnati defense, boys? Before we switch over to the other side of the ball.
Just watch that line.
Yeah, watch the line. Watch the line. As you're watching with us, comment down below. We read every single one of your comments, folks. We love checking in with you guys and seeing your thoughts on the game. We try to respond to every single one of them as well. So someone tries to always interact with you, okay? Whether it's us 3 or Matt or Pat, 100%. We
but
try.
have a respondable comment,
Yeah, 100%.
Do your
Okay.
best.
Over to the defensive side of the ball. Oklahoma's defense against Cincinnati's offense. God, do I really dare to pull up the stats again? I have no idea. I'm looking at total offense right now. Total offense. Cincinnati, third in the conference, 525 yards a game. Oklahoma, total defense, ranks fifth in the conference, 289 yards per game. You're wondering, hey, how much does Cincinnati run the ball for a game? 239 yards per game running the ball. As for passing, you're looking at about 286 yards per game passing for Cincinnati. So a pretty balanced attack from the Bearcats. Again, it's about pressure for me, man. It's just going to be about be comfortable, making them uncomfortable, and getting in the backfield. Danny, this is a prototypical Danny Stutzman 15 tackle game. Prototypical Danny Stutzman.
They're all
15.
that these days, baby.
I know, but like with how much and how effectively they run the ball, especially between the tackles, that this just reads Danny has 10 tackles at halftime, and you're like, how did we get here? But yeah, man, I want to see more pressure out of the defensive line. I feel like I'm still not getting as much as I need. And let's call a spade a spade. Tulsa's not that good, and they ran two quarterbacks out there. You're going to get one quarterback from Cincinnati. And tell you what, he can make some decisions, and he can make them pretty quick. So you better get back there.
One that's playing pretty damn well, if you
Yes.
don't mind my interjection.
No, I
after
don't.
being cast off from Florida, as a top prospect, a guy who got a tiny bit of burn, but never really the investment, Emory Jones is playing out this year for Cincinnati. A lot of the fantasies that Florida Gator fans had years and years ago when he was in Gainesville. Obviously, Luke Fickell leaves the program. He's at Wisconsin now. Probably a good move for him. Scott Satterfield. I don't exactly know how to pronounce
I think it's
that last part of
Satterfield.
that.
Pretty sure it's Satterfield.
There we go. Satterfield, the homie. Louisville was fine to see him leave, but the Bearcats might be onto something here because Emory Jones is having an excellent season, 7 touchdowns, 3 picks on the year. Look, he's no Dylan Gabriel, but who is, right? And between his ability to run the ball, 144 yards, his ability to pass the ball, that 286 per game, 144 yards on the season between the 3 games, so nearly 50 a game. And what he brings in the air too, him and running back Corey Kiner is how I want to say that. 5'9", 215. That's exactly what we have Tawi Walker listed as. Those guys present an interesting challenge for all of our front 7 because you have to worry about both of them at any given time. And with Emory Jones, you have to worry about the threat of the throw after the threat of the pass. And that has to be on your mind at all times. Your reads have to be on point. You've got to be on key. And we'll see who can make it happen up front. The linebacker situation, I feel pretty good about no matter who is out there. Danny, Jaron, Kip Lewis, eventually Kobe McKenzie later in the game. You know how it goes. Up front with the front 4, this will be an interesting game to see who gets in. Hopefully, R. Mason Thomas is feeling a little bit better. Those are the key points that I sort of want to zero in on. Ryan, what you got?
Yeah, I think so. The Cincinnati offense is good. Like people, I think people are sleeping on them. Like
they're
Mason,
the best offense that we played this year. 100 bar none.
You mentioned like 3rd in the Big 12. I mean, so that's behind UCF, us, and then you have them. They are 24th in offensive EPA nationally and 12th nationally in yards per game. 12th. I mean, they're good. Like they're solid.
Did you say EPA?
Mm-hmm. I
Expected points added.
I did. I'm
This
reading
guy,
off something. So.
This
dropping
guy.
stats on your
Dude.
dome.
Hey,
The
Gan is
Program Guys
not. Gan
Analytics
is
podcast brought to you by Brian Tyson.
Thank you. I was
Brian.
just gonna say Brian. Thank you.
Gan's not here, so I feel like I had to.
No, I
like,
love it. That's
pull
awesome.
my weight. So 12th nationally in yards per game. Like, and like Mason said, almost half of that is coming on the ground. This is such a run heavy offense, and I think it is going to be an incredibly interesting matchup for us because our best on the defensive side is our run defense. That has been our best through the first 3 games. We've seen it. We've been able to contain teams to not running the ball. And this is a squad that specializes in running the ball a lot. So I'm interested to see this matchup. And I think if I were to pick one thing, kind of like I did on the offensive side, it's going to come down to the line again, right? It's going to come down to the defensive line versus their offensive line. And are we able to contain the run? And are we able to get pressure on their quarterback? I think containing the run is the most important thing that we can do in this game defensively, because it completely throws off their entire offense and what they've been doing for 3 games this season. So they lost. I watched a little bit of the Miami Ohio game, and they lost that game mostly because their offense sputtered at like the goal line, right? They got close and they kicked field goals. They kicked like a 20-yard field goal and a 25-yard field goal and like all of this stuff. And we have to be able to, I think, bend, don't break, don't allow them into the end zone every single time, hold for field goals. That's going to be important because their defense is not going to be able to stop us completely. It's not going to be able to happen. So we have to be able to stop them.
That's the SMU game. That's the SMU game, right?
Yes.
That's what we saw from the defense then. Can we see it again? Go ahead.
Yeah. So I like SMU, also a solid offense. I think we're going to find out a lot about SMU this weekend when they play TCU. But I think that was a solid offense. You have a pretty good quarterback. I think you're seeing all the same stuff. The difference with Cincinnati is we're at their place. This is their first Big 12 conference. This is the only time they will probably ever play us, realistically, because we're leaving. And all of that, you throw in. The only thing that I will say is, thank God this is not a night game. If this was a night game, I'd be concerned. It's at 11 a.m., which I think is very helpful for us. But this team,
something we're used to.
This team is coming off an embarrassing loss, and they're going to be ready to go. And like our team has to be ready to go. I think people are kind of dismissing this test. I think 14 points of a line is too much, and we'll get to that later when we're doing our predictions. But I think it's looking at, they just had a terrible loss against Miami of Ohio. This is a good team, and we need to be ready for that. And I think that starts with our run defense and holding them to hopefully no points, but if we do have to give points, holding them to field goals.
That was their first loss at home since 2017.
Yeah,
they don't lose at home very often,
and
that's a good atmosphere. Thank God, like you're saying, it's an 11 a.m. game.
It's a rowdy place.
They do not want to lose 2 in a row at home. Like,
no,
they're not going to want to do that. They're going to come out firing.
No one does.
No,
and they don't want to lose their Big 12 opener.
No,
100%. Brett Yormark's going to be in the locker room giving them Bearcats a pump-up speech. You know what I'm saying?
Watch the refs.
Yeah, Brett Yormark probably died a little bit inside when the Big 12 had to tweet out that Texas and Oklahoma are the only ranked schools in the Big 12. I bet he freaking died a little inside. You coward, Brett. I hate you. Okay.
The ref point. I'm on ref watch from now.
Be on ref watch.
Oh yeah.
We need to every single time a flag is thrown or not thrown that should, that it's clearly just the wrong call. We got to keep track of it. Someone needs to. We are the ombudsman of Big 12 officiating here on the
100%.
Program Guys podcast, and we will take up that mantle. Matt Gann is happy to do so.
100%.
Absolutely. So what I wanted to touch on was something that Ryan mentioned earlier about that Kansas State game last year. It's where the wheels came off, right?
Yep.
This is the game for the Oklahoma defense. I don't even care about 2 weeks from now against Texas right now. What I'm thinking is this is the game where you show me that you're a different team than last year, that you show me that you've improved. Because like Ryan said, through 3 games last year, this team was world beaters. We were ready to claim them in the college football playoff. The defense has improved. Brent Venables knows what he's doing. Wow, they're doing so good, so much better than we expected. So happy about this defense. And then the wheels came off and they got wrecked and went 6-7. We know the rest of the story. I want to see this team on Saturday show that they can play a better this. Make no mistake, like Ryan talked about, this is the best offense that we're going to play, like that we've played so far. This is going to be a test, whether you think it is or not. It is a test. Even if you win by 20 points, it's a test. How you do in this game is going to determine a lot for me about what I expect out of this team for the next 7 weeks of the season. Or I guess it's 6 after this. I don't know. I can't remember. No, it's like 7 or 8, whatever. Dude, I'm struggling.
Numbers are hard.
What the hell is going on?
Keep
but
going.
This game is so important. I'm not even thinking about the offense, just for the defense for me. This game is so utterly important because you cannot go out there and lay an egg. Because as soon as you do, that's when everything's going to start coming unraveled, because you're going to have outside voices not believing in you. You're going to have voices of dissension in the locker room saying, oh, have we really changed? Are we still the same old guys and stuff? No, like you have to go out there and you have to dominate and you have to be the team that you've been through the first 3 weeks of this season, because you are that team. I genuinely think that they are this team. I do. They just have to show it.
Yeah. I think not to just go toward this point again, but this is the game, right? And I'm not saying this is the game of the season, but this is the game that people are watching and they're going to say, is this the same team from last year? I think, we have a lot of statistics that have come out of the first 3 games basically saying this is not the same team from last year, that we've improved a lot of our statistics, which is amazing. But numbers are just numbers, and we really haven't had the competition yet. Right. And I really want us to see, again, all the things that we've talked about that is going to motivate this Cincinnati team to come out there. We have to be able to handle that. We cannot, like you said, we cannot lay an egg, which is what we did in that Kansas State game last year. And that was at home, and we still laid an egg. And then everything just completely fell apart. Yeah. And I think that, all of us are being, I'm we're going to get to the end of this and I'm going to pick that I think Oklahoma is going to win this game. I still think that Oklahoma is going to win this game. I just think that I hope that people know, and I could eat crow for this. Honestly, we could be having, this could be after the game and we win by 50 points. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think this is going to be a close game. I think this is going to be an intense matchup. I think that Cincinnati is going to be very, very, very motivated to come out, especially after an embarrassing loss at home, which, again, like we've said, they have not lost since 2017 at home. That is 6 years, guys. 6 years. That's a long time. Yep. And they're going to be motivated. And I just, this team needs to, I bet, is feeling pretty good about themselves. They should be. They've played really well so far. They can't lose that. And that's what happened last year at the same exact time. And it can't happen this year.
Yep. The last thing I'll mention is I'm really looking for the secondary to step up once again. They've been ball hawks through the first 3 games. 2 picks a game is what they're averaging. I'd love to see him grab a couple more. That'd be super fun. Emory Jones has shown that he can give the ball away. He has 3 picks through 3 games. He shows his decision making can sometimes be shaky. I think we finally see one of those Peyton Bowen interceptions on Saturday. I really think we do. Mark, anything to add on the defense before we get out of the game?
Just real fast. I know that I missed a good bit there. Sorry, guys. There's a canine unit. They shut down my alley behind my house. It's awesome. I've got a camera going, so if anything happens to that door back there, we'll see it. Anyway, Last thing for me really on the defense, and then I'll lead us into our score predictions if you don't mind, Mason, because I think Brent Venables has said it multiple times since the start of the season. This unit looks different. They're playing different. They're built a little different. After the SMU game, he said, that's a game I don't know if we win last year. I don't know if we've got, he didn't say fortitude, but I'm going to say the fortitude to pull it out. I think this is the game where you see them come out, understand the stakes. It's an 11 o'clock game. So not even so much the environment as much as you just wake up and you get to work. You don't have to think about it all day long and, dwell on what's going on. You just hit the ground running at 11 a.m. And that leads me to my prediction. I think that we take care of business. I think that we're looking at a 48-20 game. I think that they hit pay dirt a couple times, but I think that largely you are going to see the Oklahoma defense bend a little bit, not really break, and the offense is going to continue to take advantage of the world beaters we have running down the field. And even if the offensive line can't hold up like we need them to, the athletes are there to get in space that the offense is going to put points on the board. So 48-20, that's what I got.
I got 45-34 Oklahoma. I think this game's a little closer than the experts predict. Not because these teams are closer, but I think this is kind of a comeback down to earth game for the Oklahoma defense. I think they don't suck, but I think they have a worse game, and they go back and they watch the film from this game and they learn and improve for the rest of the year. I think this game could be a catalyst, like we talked about, to springboard them into the rest of the season to show, hey, we're not this team that we see on film. We're the team we see from the first three games. So 45-34. That's what I said. Thank you.
I'm going to say 34-24. A lot of the same reasons that Mace, I think you talked about. I just think the Cincinnati team is better than people think they are. And I think they had a bad game last week, and that happens sometimes. And I think they're just going to be very motivated. I still think we're going to come out with a win. I do not think we're going to cover because I think that line is too high, in my opinion. But I think it should be a pretty good matchup. And so, yeah, 34-24.
I love when we kind of disagree, because I truly do think that we're going to step up to the challenge and really shut it down and have the world thinking, man, OU Texas in a couple weeks is going to be something
God,
else.
I hope.
And then Iowa State becomes the possible trap, even though that team can't get anything right.
Iowa State's offense is the worst thing of it. Well, that or Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State, Iowa State this weekend, y'all. It's going to be 0-0 at the end of the game.
Dude, talk about a dumpster fire.
It's a mess.
Hey, so looking at the outline, we don't have a ton left to go through. I do want to encourage everyone to, once again, go buy a t-shirt. If you like what you're listening to, there's no reason why you wouldn't go buy a t-shirt. We're not pushing this to get money in our pockets. It's really not about that. It's more about seeing people who enjoy the program with their bodies. That's what we want. Is 100%. I'm going to be wearing this to games. I'm going to be wearing this out. I'm going to be hanging out with people in this t-shirt. I want everyone else to also. You can find the link in the description for the episode. This is the last day possible. If you're listening on Thursday, if you're listening on Friday, you missed out. That's your bad. You should have found us a day earlier.
That's how you ring the bell. You ring that bell, you turn on those notifications. That's how you know when the program's dropping.
And I have one more thing.
I have one more thing to your
then
first
you do
thing.
your thing. No,
I just can't tell you how many times Matt Gann has told me that he just wants to be on our fans' bodies. Just really wants to be on their bodies.
Mm-hmm. He does.
Hugging them, draped over them, covering their chest.
Moisture wicking.
Yeah. That's what Matt Gann's about. And I just wanted to make sure that we got that in there because I know Matt isn't here to say that himself. And I just wanted to make sure I said that for him.
It's very noble of you.
So I know that we have not a ton left to go. We don't have a Wagans this week because no Matt Gann, obviously. So I want to take 10, 15, if you guys don't mind, real fast. We're a quarter of the way into the season. Where have we exceeded or not exceeded expectations for you guys so far? And I think we should start offense and then go defense. And I'll start just to make it easy, right?
Okay.
The tight end position to 0. It just is. Blake Smith needs to be out there every single play because all we're doing is blocking from that position. The running back position is 3 games into the year, a quarter of the game into the year, a question mark. Tawee Walker has looked great, but if Tawee Walker is your best thing there, it's like we said with Gavin Freeman earlier in the summer. If that's your number 1, that's a tough place to be. And if that's your number 3, you're in a great spot. That's sort of the game that we're playing there. Receiver, Andrell Anthony has stepped up. That's great to see. I would still love to see the gigantic guys get as much run as humanly possible. Those are sort of my places where, like, yeah, the O-line needs to step up, but that's obvious, right? That's some clear things. Is there anything else on the offense that you guys think through 3 and think we're up like 167-28 on opponents? It's not close, but through 3, what have you guys been surprised by in good ways and bad ways?
I think.
Go
ahead,
Ryan. All right, I'll go. The wide receivers as a whole for me as a unit, remember how much we were questioning them at the beginning of this season? Like, what do we have with them? I think we know what we have with them. We have a group of guys who are really talented. Is there like a singular guy who is, Biletnikoff award status? No, there's not. But there's a bunch of dudes who are really, really good at football and know how to catch the football. I really was surprised at how well that wide receiver room has blossomed. And another is how quickly Dylan Gabriel is processing things. Folks, you may not believe it or not, but watch him last year and watch him this year. He is processing things so much quicker, so much quicker. And it's really impressive to see that cerebral part of his game develop that much, because that's something that he needed to work on. And I think it was obvious. And Dylan's a guy who's improved a ton, and I credit where it's due. I've always been a Dylan supporter, but I really think it's clicking way more than it was last season for Dylan.
All right. So negative for me on offense, absolutely the tight ends. I think get them off the field. When I was coming into the season, I said Austin Stogner was the underachiever that I predicted. But I did not expect it. I did not expect this. I think he has just a couple catches through the 3 games for under 10 yards or something like that. It's very, very, very minimal. He's not a target at all. And I think that we are not utilizing a part of this offense that historically has been very successful for us. And I think historically can be very successful for very good offenses. So I would love to see the tight end usage be increased. Good thing. I've already talked about this. Dylan Gabriel has looked great. I am the one on the pod who gave shit to Dylan Gabriel and said he was going to get benched this year. So this is me eating crow so far. We're only on game 4, but he has been wonderful. He's been so much more improved from last year. All of the things that I had problems with, he seems like he's taken active steps to fix them and mostly fix them. And I think he just seems more confident, more controlled. His accuracy has been incredible this year. So all of those things were even things that were wrong at the first 3 games last year. We're not seeing those this year. So that has been my biggest surprise and probably the best part of the offense for me.
Yeah, the Dylan piece has been really, really good. The SMU game, I think, did leave some things to be wanted. I think we can't you shouldn't just pretend it didn't happen. But the way that games 1 and 3 went, and honestly holding it together during the SMU game too. The Dylan we see last year throws a pick. He forces a ball. He throws a careless pass. He's running away and just tosses it. Something not quite there yet. Ryan, something you said made me think just he's seeing the game at the level it's being played at now. And last season, he might have been seeing at Group of 5 Central Florida level to a lot of ways. And now he knows, hey, the defense is moving like this. They're fast. But my guys are moving that fast too. And I can get away with some stuff too if I just put the ball out there and let him make plays. Jaden Gibson and Nick Anderson are freaks out there. I can just trust them to make plays.
I think he's just not, he doesn't seem scared. He doesn't seem scared like he did last year. I think last year it was a lot of like, I need to be the best. I need to be the thing that takes this team home. He was putting, I think, probably a lot of pressure on himself because he didn't have a backup. We talked about this preseason, how this would change him. And I think it's changed him for the better. But like, he's been great. And he just seems so much more comfortable. Like, that's the word I keep coming back to, is like, he looks more comfortable up there. Just like the way he snaps the ball, the way he holds it, the way he's able to like look at different targets. I think it's just like, it's a night and day difference for me than what we saw last year.
Biggest positive on the offense so far is Dylan Gabriel.
Agreed.
Like, it just is. He's the best performer we have on the offense. You see all these lists and it's whatever the top 10 is, he's in it every single time. Jackson Arnold has shown us so much in 3 games and also is being utilized poorly. And we've hit on that 1,000 times, but do you guys have anything on that that's different?
No, I think you know what you have with Jackson, and he's shown that he has the potential to be the quarterback that everybody thought he was, the quarterback that was promised, some may say, but I think he needs time. I don't think he needs to be thrown into any sort of fire. Now, if something happens to Dylan and Jackson goes in, am I terrified for what happens with this team? Absolutely not. No. And that's a good feeling. That's a really good feeling. So I'm really happy with what Jackson's doing.
And on defense, I don't think we need to do too much because it looks freaking awesome. But are there any? Here's the thing. Let's do specific standout. Like, the whole defense has looked awesome.
Yeah.
But through 3 specific standouts and anything that you think needs to be clearly improved, because I'll start real fast. Danny Sutzman's obvious, right?
Mm-hmm.
Woody Washington, you don't hear his name very much, and it's because he's doing everything right. That's one that we as Sooner fans have come to appreciate. Not enough. We've come to take him for granted. That's just the truth with Woody Washington. Peyton Bowen has been a trip, and I know everyone's going to hit on him, but I want to see him be on the field as much as possible. And then things that I'd like to see a little bit more of is we got to find who the guys are up front. And our Mason Thomas is a part of that mix, and we haven't seen him at all yet, really. So he's someone that, along with Trace Ford, Rondell Bothroyd, PJ Adebare, you can really see an end rotation forming inside Isaiah Coe, Jonah Laulu, DJ Terry. There's dudes there, but let's see it all come together and let's figure out who our 6 or 7 are long-term for the rest of the season moving forward. Because we've seen a lot of guys come in and out. I guess those are my big things, guys. That's on the defense. I feel pretty freaking happy, man.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go first.
It's awesome. Both of y'all did. You did it both times.
I know. I think for me, all of those people you mentioned, obviously, I think Danny is the main standout. I'm gonna let Mason have his moment with that. And I do want to give a shout out. I think Key Lawrence has been really wonderful this year so far through 3 games. And very much improved from what I've seen in the past. And like all of them, there's been so many standouts in defense, because what we were last year was horrible. And so it's just like we've gone from horrible to this is so much better than what we had, right? And so I think for me, the one area that I'm still like about is the secondary a little bit, especially when we play a lot of zone. Is I don't know. We saw it break down a little bit against Tulsa. They were able to recuperate and like be like, okay, we're not letting that, but we're not letting that happen again. But in that specific like second quarter against Tulsa, that didn't look great. We saw some holes happen in the first two games as well. I'm being very, very picky here, but I think it's just like some of that passing defense. I would still like to see a little bit more cleaned up. But again, I'm being incredibly picky. So I've been extremely happy with that side of the ball though, overall.
No one's been harder on Danny than I have on this podcast. And I think that's very clear and very well documented. Danny deserves all of the credit. He's spearheading this defense, and he's arguably the number one reason that this defense is performing as well as it is because he's out there leading it, and he's in there on every single tackle, on every single play. He's around the ball, and that is massive. That's huge. Another guy who I like watching, just if you get a chance, he's not in the game every single play like Danny is, but Reggie Pearson is fun to watch, dude. That dude flies around the field. And sometimes, kind of like Danny last year, it's to his own detriment, right?
Yeah, he misses.
Sometimes
he misses.
He misses.
Big hits.
Yeah. Sometimes he runs himself out of plays, but that's fun, man. Like, yeah. Is it ideal? No. You don't want that every single time. And yeah, you'd love for him to break down a little more and maybe not whiff on some tackles. But man, dude, you can't coach effort, and that dude gives effort every time he's out there on the field, and it's fun.
And one thing this year that's different than last year is he misses that play, and there's 10 dudes behind him that even if it's an extra 2 yards, it's only an extra 2 or 3 or 4. It's not a breakdown.
Yeah, I mean that's all I
gotta do that.
No, that's all I have on the defense. I mean, yeah, I want more pressure, but really, I think Trace Ford can be that guy that you were talking about, Mark. I genuinely do, just because of the age factor and the maturity factor, and just he's a big body.
He played so well this week.
He did. He played very, very well against Tulsa, and I don't think it's an anomaly. I think he's a good player. There's a reason OSU was upset that they lost him, right? Like, I think he's talented enough to do all the things that Mark was asking of that defensive line to do and those edge rushers to do. Look out for Trace Ford, man. I really think when push comes to shove, when games get more serious, he's a guy who you'll be like, what a play when we needed it most from Trace Ford.
I guess one last one that just came to my mind, because I was going to ask you guys about special teams, but honestly, things look okay, right? Things look pretty good.
Dax Schmidt is cool.
Yeah, right. It's all good. But here's where that thought led me to, and I want to drop it one more time. I think, Mason, we discussed this a little bit already, but are we going to see more offense with Gavin Freeman? Does he have more than like a catch or two all year so far? He doesn't. And we've seen him do incredible things with the ball in his hands. So you got to find a way. He's someone who needs to be in that receiver rotation, is, I guess, one more critique for the offense that I would have.
You got to find a way, but you also got to find a way to get him on the field where he's not getting the ball. So it's not obvious when he's on the field that, oh, this guy's getting the ball. And I don't know if they trust him enough to be in that situation necessarily, right? Do you trust him to run a go route? Do you trust him to run like a deep crosser over the middle right now? Or is he just a gadget guy? I mean, you got to find that balance.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Maybe that's what it really is like, hey, he's actually just a sophomore with very small amount of playing time last year, and he needs to come into it a little bit more. Maybe that's all it really comes down to. But Ryan, any parting thoughts on like a review of the last few games?
I don't think so. I think we've kind of touched on it. We like everything so far has looked really great. it also looked really great last year through 3 games. So we've talked about it a lot. This is the game. Let's not pull a Kansas State. That's those are my parting words.
God, I really don't want to feel that way ever again. God, I really don't.
Depressing.
I really don't. Thank you for that, Mark. What a fun little segment for the people. Comment down below with
not on the outline.
Mark's.
I just forced this on those guys.
Yeah, it's great. Make your pick'em picks, folks. ESPN, if you're part of our ESPN pick'em page, make sure to make your picks. Brought to you by the Hype Shoe Company. Our top 3 entries go home with a pair of Hype shoes at the end of the season. Right now, leading Sooners victory tour, 21-9 in the 99.8 percentile. Shout out to him. Humble One is in second place, 20-10. And then we have webtickets.com. That's got to be fraudulent. Gotta love how Patrick didn't close it when I told him to. Joey Dean, that seems like a real person. Joey Dean, 19-11. He's in third place, along with Big Poppy 10, 19-11, and FL Legend 707, 19-11. Be sure to make your picks this week, guys. Make your picks this week for the game. We got more games coming up for you as well to make those.
What if
picks.
Web Tickets is just like a real dedicated homie? That's just his thing.
Yeah.
I hope it. Hey, Web Tickets, if you're listening, comment below, man.
Let us find out who you are.
Yeah.
We're going to get on to Mason if you're right and he's wrong.
Yeah. Please. I wouldn't be the first time I'd be wrong. Ask Danny Stutzman. Okay. Anything else before we get to MVPs? Okay. Let's do our MVPs. Let's go ahead and do that. Ryan, who's your MVP, man?
Yeah, I'm gonna give my MVP to my groomsmen guys.
Hey,
yeah, it's my bachelor party this upcoming weekend. So I'm excited to spend some time with my dudes. So that's my MVP for the week.
Heck yeah,
hit Ryan Tyson's Cash App to fund his weekend, baby.
Hit it, man. Hit the Cash App up,
hit
baby.
Mine too.
Yes, 100%, baby. Gotta love it. Mark, who's your MVP, man?
Yeah, let me run a list off for you, and then I'm gonna give you my MVP. Okay.
Okay.
Oh God, here it is.
Here's the list.
Something Falcons related.
No, not at all. Not at all. It goes R. Mason Thomas, Grayson Halton, Marcus Strong, Taylor Wine, Ashton Sanders, PJ Adebawore, Wyatt Gilmore, Jaden Jackson, Danny Okoye, Nigel Smith, David Stone. That's the list of guys along the defensive line that my MVPs, Miguel Chavis and Todd Bates, have brought into the Oklahoma program, all while boasting a 9-7 record. There was a lot of conjecture. No, 6-7, and now we're 3-0.
Got it. Okay, I see what you mean. Thank you for that clarification.
I got you. Commenters probably thought the same. There was a lot of conjecture that, hey, when you lose some guys, David Hicks doesn't go your way, Dominic McKinley doesn't go your way, Williams Ranieri doesn't go your way, that we need to see more out of these fellas than we've seen. When the truth is, what we've seen from the classes of 22, 23, and now 24 with their time here is better than what we had the entire era before it, from a talent perspective and from a future prospects perspective. Can't say enough about the Edgemen. They're doing everything up there. Salt and pepper. The best defensive line recruiting staff in the country. The Oklahoma Sooners. Miguel Chavis, Todd Bates, my MVPs.
Love it. I'll round us out. My MVPs of the week are the listeners of the Program Guys podcast, because folks, you may not know this, but we have reached 10,000 podcast downloads over the history of the Program Guys podcast. And while you may not think that's a lot, and it may not be as much as your favorite sports podcast, may not even be as much as your favorite OU podcast, but folks, it's a lot to us. For 5 guys, 6 guys, Trevor as well, for 6 guys who really just wanted a creative outlet, an opportunity weekly to get together with their friends and talk about the stuff that we talk about on a daily basis, just have it on the record. You know, with everything that's gone on in our lives, I've gotten married. Ryan's about to get married. Mark about to get married. Patrick about to get married. Matt in and out of relationships. You got to love it.
No, he's in a very good relationship now, though.
Man.
I know.
He's in a
No,
very
but he's
good
doing
relationship
great now. He's doing great now. Okay. You're stepping on my monologue. I love you, Matt. I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to be rude. I swear to God, I wasn't. But to see how this podcast has changed just through our lives so far in only 2 years time, it's been fun. And we're coming up on episode 100 in, just a couple months. Like that's a big milestone. So 10,000 people, 10,000 downloads is amazing. And we average, 1,000 views on each podcast that we drop on YouTube. And it truly means a whole lot to me, because this podcast started at a time that was really hard in my life. Work was tough. I wasn't able to get a creative outlet, and we all kind of just decided to do this together, and you guys jumped in with me, and I really appreciate it. And it's been awesome. And that's my MVP, is the listeners for making it possible.
Gonna build on that. I have no background at all in any sort of sports anything, but I love this shit so much, and it has been a lot of fun to get to hang out with all of my best buds and talk about this stuff every week for 89 weeks this week. So shout out to listeners. One more thing you can do is share us with a buddy. We're trying to get 2K by Texas. That's a big deal. We really want to do that. Yeah. It was lofty, okay?
It doesn't matter.
We don't not do lofty.
We'll just change it to 2K by Texas Tech.
All right.
Here's that's what we need.
We're not playing tech.
Shut up.
Look, guys, I became a recruiting analyst over the last 89 weeks. All right. So
100% on crystal balls.
I'm 100% dropping my balls on these guys.
Don't forget.
Right? I don't drop balls without them coming true. And it's been a great time. It's been a blast. The last 2 years would have been so much less fun if we didn't have this. And shout out to the listeners, because you guys are what drives a lot of it. We love getting to interact with you guys. It's really a lot of fun.
It's fun.
Ryan, your thought on all the listeners, because we're doing this now.
Jesus Christ.
I'm sorry.
No, you guys have said everything. I echo everything that you guys
Ryan's
have said.
like, I don't like them.
I am very, very appreciative of this.
He's like, Joe Preston's a dick. I'm just kidding. Sorry.
We're going off the rails right now. It's just turned into an emotional mess.
I'm sorry.
We're gonna get reported.
I'm sorry.
No, I mean, obviously, we did this as something because we wanted to talk to each other. We know we're getting older, and we're like, we don't want to lose these relationships. And something really great has blossomed out of that. And we couldn't do it without the support from everybody who's listening to this. So, and even if we could, it would not be near as fun. So thank you for sticking by us, and we'll continue this ride for as long as we can.
That's right. And with that, episode 89 is in the books. Folks, you can get our t-shirt if you're listening to this episode on Thursday. Folks, get the t-shirt. Get the t-shirt. This is your last day. Link down below in the description. However you're watching or listening, that's where you can find it. Thank you to our friends at the Fan Stop for hooking that up for the people. Also, you can follow us on all of our social media at Program Guyz with a Z. That's how you find us. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, all of that good stuff. Gentlemen, that's going to do it. Ryan, take us out.
Ooh, me?
Yeah.
I love this. Keep pushing, baby.
3, 2, 1.
There's not one guy, one person in the history of this program that's bigger than the program.
What's better than this? Guys being dudes.